The following is a timeline of the history of the city of Stockholm, Sweden. Prehistory: 750 to 790. The trade center Birka is established on Lake Mälaren, then part of the Baltic Sea, not far from Stockholm. c. 975. Birka is abandoned. c. 1000. Sigtuna emerges as the city dominating the Lake Mälaren region. 1247. Battle of Sparsatra. Birger Magnusson defeats the true Folkungs. 1248. Birger becomes Jarl. 1250. Birger initiates a crusade against the Tavasts. 1251. Battle of Herrevardsbro, where Birger eliminates the true Folkungs. Middle Ages. 1252. First historical mentioning of Stockholm. 1266. Birger dies and is buried at Varnhems Church. 1269. First known political confrontation in Stockholm. 1270. The Grey Friars Abbey, Stockholm, is founded. 1275. Magnus Ladulås becomes king. 1279. Storkirken is first mentioned. 1280. A political meeting at Adelso results in the establishment of Swedish nobility. 1281. The Seal of Stockholm is first mentioned. 1285. Magnus decrees he wishes to be buried in Stockholm. 1289. In a decree, Magnus grants citizens settling near St. Clair's Priory, Stockholm on Norrmalm the same rights as citizens within the city walls, which also gets mentioned for the first time, resulting in the first expansion beyond the central island Stadsholmen. 1289. In a letter to the Pope, Stockholm is described as having become more populous than any other city in our country in a few years. 1290. Magnus dies. His son Birger becomes king. 1292. Magnus is buried in the Grey Friars Church. 1293. Under Torkel Knutsson, a crusade is launched aiming at the Viborg Bay. 1336. Foundation of the Black Friars Monastery of Stockholm. 1350. The Black Death enters the city. 1388. The city is given full city rights, as ratified by King Albert of Mecklenburg. 1389. The rivalry between the Swedish and German population leads to a massacre on the Swedes. The Kappling murders by the German Hattebröder. 1392. Forces of the Danish Queen Margaret besieged the city. 1392. Privateers named Vittel Brothers supplied the besieged city with food. 1419. Stockholm becomes the capital of Sweden. 1471. The Battle of Brunkeberg is won by Sten Sture the Elder, and the Danish are ousted. 1483. Printer Johan Snell active. 1520. The Stockholm bloodbath is perpetrated by Christian II of Denmark. 1521. Gustav Vasa marches into Stockholm. 1527–28. The Swedish Reformation closed down all convents operating in Stockholm. 1558. Danviken Hospital is inaugurated to replace the social care previously managed by the convents. 1576. Foundation of the Catholic Collegium Regium Stockholmense attracts controversy. It is closed after a riot in 1593. Swedish Empire. 1602. Norrmalm is made an autonomous city. 1611. Gustavus II Adolphus becomes king. 1618. The scandal around the infamous brothel of Sara Simonsdotter is exposed. 1622. First preserved map of Stockholm dates from this year. 1625. A devastating fire destroys the southwestern part of Stadsholmen. A city plan for the area is produced the following year. 1630. Gustavus enters the 30 Years' War. 1632. Gustavus dies at the Battle of Lutzen. 1633. The orphanage Stora Barnhuset is founded. 1632 to 1644. Regency of Queen Christina led by Axel Oxenstierna. 1634. An instrument of government establishes the first office of the Overgovernor of Stockholm. Överståthållarämbetet. 1635. Norrmalm is unified with Stockholm. 1636. An important reform renders the management of the city more efficient. Anders Torstensson begins working in Stockholm. The prison Nya Smedjegarden is founded. 1637. Regulation of Norrmalm begins. 1639 to 40. Parts of Lagegårdslunde is donated to the city. 1640. Eastern part of Norrmalm is destroyed by fire. A city plan is quickly set up for the district. The first public theatre, Björngårdsteatern, opens. 1642. Regulation begins on Södermalm. A decision is taken to transfer Munklägret to the city. 1644. Eastern half of Kungsholmen is donated to the city. 1648. Peace of Westphalia grants Sweden considerable territories in the southern Baltic region. 1649. Inauguration of the women's workhouse prison Langholm in Spinnhus. 1654. Queen Christina abdicates. Charles X of Sweden becomes king. 1665. Jean de la Vallée produces a plan for a street stretching from Gustav Adolfs Torg to Hagaparken, Sveavägen. 1661. Nicodemus Tessan the Elder becomes city architect. 1667. The theatres of Lehonkullen and Bollhusa is inaugurated. Initially as court theatres, but soon also open to the public. 1691. The textile factory Barnangens Manufacture, one of the two biggest in the capital during the following century, is founded. 1697. The royal castle is destroyed in a fire. 1710. The last plague reached the city. Age of Liberty. 1719. The city narrowly escaped Russian invasion. 1731. The religious dissident group Grakultarna is imprisoned. 1737. The first national stage is founded in the theatre of Bollhusa. 1752. The first modern hospital, Serafimerlazaretet, is founded. 1753. The Dulundal troupe inaugurate the French theatre at Bollhusa. 1754. The case célèbre of Risbergstugan. 1756. The Queen's failed coup of 1756 is suppressed in the streets of the capital. 1759. Great Stockholm Fire 1759. 1768. December Crisis. 1768. Gustavian Era. 1772. Absolute monarchy is reintroduced through the Revolution of 1772. 1772. Torture is abolished, and the torture chambers Tuvekällan and Rosenkammaren is closed. 1773. Foundation of Royal Swedish Opera in the Bollhusa. 1775. Foundation of the first maternity hospital, Allmänna BB. 1784. The Stenborg Company inaugurate its first permanent theatre building by the foundation of the Stenborg Theatre. 1788. Foundation of the Royal Dramatic Theatre. 1793. Ebel Riot. 1798–99. A theatre monopoly is introduced which reserve all theatre performances within the city walls of Stockholm to the two royal theatres, Royal Swedish Opera and the Royal Dramatic Theatre. This monopoly is in place until 1842. Industrial Era. 1801. Foundation of the Djurgårdsteatern. 1806. The steam engine is introduced in Stockholm at the Eldvarn gristmill. 1831. Foundation of Wallenska skolan, the first school offering serious education to female pupils. 1838. The local city authorities makes an attempt to control prostitution through the sponsorship of two approved brothels. London and Stadt Hamburg. The experiment is however discontinued in 1841. 1842. The theatre monopoly is abolished and Mindertieten is founded. 1846. Adolf Eugene von Rosen and Georg Theodor Polychron von Chewitz proposes a regulation of Gamla-stan. 1847. Arlandska skolan is founded. 1848. The riots Mars Aureli Eterna occur inspired by the revolutions of 1848. 1851. The first deaconess institution in Sweden, Ersta Diakoni, is founded headed by Maria Cederschiöld. Deaconess. 1852. Sophia Posse takes over the prestigious finishing school Hammarstedtska skolan. 1857. A regulation of Gamla-stan is proposed by A. E. Schuldhuis discussed in the parliament. Gets rejected 2 years later. 1859. Södertälje is established. 1860. A. E. Schwabitz and A. E. Rudberg produces a proposal for the regulation of Gamla-stan. 1861. Högskola in a seminariat, the first academic institution open to women, is founded. A decision is taken to construct Strandvägen. 1862. Rudberg publishes a minor revision of his proposal. A new administrative reform comes into effect. 1863 to 1864. Rudberg and Gillis Bildt develop a city plan for Stockholm. Albert Lindhagen is appointed head of a commission to examine the plan the following year, only to produce a plan of his own in 1866. The plan, published in 1867, results in no actions. 1871. Stockholm Central Station is inaugurated. 1874–80. Various plans for different districts are discussed. 3 are accepted by the king. 1875. Foundation of the Swedish Theatre. Stockholm. 1877. Gummelius Advertising Agency and Business. 1878. The famous Elvan Fire. 1884. Inauguration of the Sofia Hemme University College. 1897. General Art and Industrial Exposition of Stockholm. 1897. Modern History. 1917. Anti-war Socialist Zimmerwald Conference held. 1927. Albert Lilienberg is appointed City Planning Superintendent. Stadsplan Director. He presents a plan for the regulation of densely populated districts the following year. 1932–33. International contest for a city plan for the southern part of Norrmalm. 1936. Lilienberg's plan is rejected by the Stockholm City Council. Paul Hedquist presents an alternative plan corresponding to today's reality. 1945. The principal decision to carry through the redevelopment of Norrmalm is passed on Yngve Larsson's initiative. In order to facilitate the Stockholm Metro and to elongate long-debated Sveavägen down to its present end at Sergels-torg. 1946. A plan for Norrmalm similar to today's Sergels-torg is presented by Sven Markelius and David Haldane but is ignored by the City Council. 1951–1952. A new plan is passed and demolition works for the Stockholm Metro begin. 1960. Final proposal for Sergels-torg is accepted by the Council. 1962 and 1967. Revised plans enlarging earlier demolition plans are presented and accepted. 1966. Stockholm International Peace Research Institute established. 1971. The Treehugger Campaign Almstriden in Kungsträdgården. 1973. The Norrmalmstorg robbery hostage crisis occurred at Norrmalmstorg, eventually giving birth to the term Stockholm Syndrome. 1975. New plan cancels all earlier plans to rebuild central Stockholm. 1982. The European Court passes a sentence over the expropriations in connection to the destruction of Southern Norrmalm, making Sweden the first Nordic country to be sentenced for offending human rights. 1986. Prime Minister Olof Palme is assassinated on Sveavägen. 2003. Minister for Foreign Affairs Anna Lindh is assassinated at the NK department store. Historical population. See also. Sweden. History of Sweden. Timeline of Gothenburg. Notes. Hall, Thomas. 1999. Huvudstad I omvandling. Stockholms planering och utbyggnad under 700 år. In Swedish. Stockholm. Sveriges Radios förlag. ISBN 91-522-1810-4. Anderson, Magnus. 1997. Stockholms Arsringa, en inblick I stadens framväxt. In Swedish. Stockholmia förlag. ISBN 91-7031-0688. Further reading. Published in the 18th and 19th centuries. William Cox. 1785. Stockholm. Travels into Poland, Russia, Sweden and Denmark. 2nd ed. London. Printed for T. Cadell. Beard Taylor. 1883. Stockholm. Northern Travel. Summer Pictures. Sweden, Denmark and Lapland. N.Y. Putnam. Published in the 20th century. Stockholm, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. 8th ed. Leipzig. Carl Baedeker. 1903. Stockholm, Norwegian, Sweden and Denmark. Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Myers Resebuche. In German. 10th ed. Leipzig. Bibliographisches Institute. 1911. Peter Newman. Jeffrey Kenworthy. 1999. Case Studies in Overcoming Automobile Dependence. Stockholm. Quote. Sustainability and Cities. Overcoming Automobile Dependence. Island Press. p. 208+. ISBN 9781597262590.